Have you ever noticed how you can solve a big problem at work, but then spend 10 minutes choosing a font, replying to a text, or deciding what to eat, like your brain suddenly forgot how to be normal? You stare at the simplest choice, and it feels loud, not because it is hard, but because it feels loaded, like every option is secretly a test, like one small move will reveal who you really are. If that sounds familiar, you are not broken, you are not dramatic, you are just running a very specific mental software. And today, we are decoding it. Because the people who overthink simple things are not weak-minded. They are usually sharp. They notice patterns. They feel consequences before they happen. They read the room. They sense what is beneath the surface. But the same talent that makes them perceptive can also make them trapped. Imagine this. You are about to order a coffee. The menu is there. Two options you already like. And still, your mind starts a movie. If I pick sweet, I will crash later. If I pick strong, I will feel anxious. If I ask a question, the barista will judge me. If I do not, I will regret it. You smile and pretend you are calm, but inside you are negotiating with consequences. By the time you speak, you feel relieved, like you escaped something. That is the signature feeling of simple overthinking. Relief after nothing, stress without danger, and a quiet shame that says, "Why am I like this?" So here is the psychology of people who overthink simple things. 1. Your brain treats small choices like identity choices. Most people see a simple decision as a quick moment. You see it as a statement. A simple outfit becomes, "What does this say about me?" A short reply becomes, "Will they think I am cold?" A playlist choice becomes, "Does this match the mood I want to be seen as?" This happens when your self-concept is tied to performance. Psychologists call it contingent self-worth. It means your value feels dependent on doing things the right way. So even tiny choices carry emotional weight. Not because the choice is important, but because your brain believes it reflects your worth. And once your worth is on the line, your mind goes into protection mode. That is when you start scanning for the perfect option. And perfection is not a standard. It is a moving target. You find one good option, then imagine a better one. Then imagine how the better one could still be judged. Then you imagine how you would feel if it went wrong. That is not indecision. That is identity anxiety in disguise. 2. You have a low tolerance for uncertainty. Overthinking is often a fight against the unknown. People who overthink simple things are usually trying to remove uncertainty before they act. They want a guarantee, a sign, a feeling of certainty. But life does not hand out certainty, so the brain tries to manufacture it by thinking more. Here is the twist. More thinking does not create certainty. It creates the illusion of control. This is linked to a cognitive bias called the ambiguity effect. When outcomes are unclear, we avoid choosing, because choosing means accepting risk. And the overthinking brain hates risk, not because it is cowardly, but because it is sensitive. Many overthinkers grew up in environments where small mistakes had big reactions. So their nervous system learned uncertainty equals danger. So now, even simple decisions can trigger that old alarm. Should I send this message now or later? Should I pick this seat or that seat? Should I join the call early or on time? To others, it is nothing. To you, it is the unknown, and your brain would rather think than feel. But every time you wait for perfect certainty, you teach your brain that action is unsafe. 3. You are running a high empathy, high prediction mind. Some people live in the moment. Overthinkers live in the next 5 moments. You do not just choose, you simulate. If I say this, they might respond like that. If I do not say it, they might assume this. If I choose option A, it might lead to B, then C, then D. This is a powerful skill. It is called mental time travel. It is also connected to theory of mind, your ability to imagine what others think and feel. But when you combine high empathy with fear of judgment, it becomes exhausting. The spotlight effect makes you feel like people are watching your choices more than they actually are. Social comparison theory makes you measure yourself against imagined standards. And suddenly, A simple action feels like public performance. This is why you can overthink a single social moment for hours. You replay your tone, your facial expression, the exact pause before your words. Your mind is not trying to torture you. It is trying to protect your social belonging. Because in human psychology, belonging equals safety. So your brain tries to predict every possible reaction to avoid rejection. But prediction has a cost. The more you simulate, the less you live. 4. You confuse thinking with solving. This is the trap that feels productive. Overthinking feels like work. It feels like you are being responsible, like you are doing your due diligence. But thinking is not the same as resolving. Psychologists talk about rumination, repetitive thinking that circles the same problem without moving toward action. Rumination is not planning. Planning creates steps. Rumination creates loops. A loop sounds like this. What if I mess this up? What if they interpret it wrong? What if I regret it later? Notice how none of those questions lead to a next step. They only lead to more questions. That is why overthinkers often feel tired even when they did nothing. Because the brain used energy to keep the threat active. And there is also the Zeigarnik effect. Your mind holds on to unfinished tasks. When you delay a decision, your brain keeps it open, like a tab that never closes. So you keep thinking about it in the shower, in bed, in the middle of another conversation. A simple decision becomes background noise. And the scary part is, the longer you think, the more important it feels. Your brain assumes, if I cannot stop thinking about it, it must matter. So the problem grows, not because it is real, but because attention makes it feel real. 5. You are trying to avoid one specific feeling. Under all the thoughts, there is usually a feeling you do not want to touch. Guilt, embarrassment, disappointment, rejection, regret. Overthinking is often emotional avoidance wearing the mask of intelligence. Instead of feeling the discomfort of choosing, you stay in the mental space where nothing is final, because final decisions create emotions, and emotions can hurt. This is why many overthinkers freeze when something is simple but personal. Choosing a career path, ending a relationship, saying no, asking for help, even deciding what you want. Because wanting something means you could lose it, and losing it means you have to feel. So the brain says, think more, delay more, research more, wait for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment is just fear with a better outfit. Here is the key psychological truth. Overthinking is not too much thinking. It is too much fear. And the way out is not to become careless. It is to become emotionally brave. So how do you break the cycle without changing who you are? You start small. You practice what psychologists call exposure to uncertainty. Pick the outfit in 30 seconds. Send the message after one read. Choose the meal without checking reviews. Not because the choice is meaningless, but because your nervous system needs new evidence. Evidence that you can choose and survive. You also learn the difference between useful thinking and looping. Useful thinking ends with an action. Looping ends with more thinking. So when you catch yourself spiraling, ask one question. What is the next tiny action? Not the perfect action, the next one. And finally, you start treating yourself like a human, not a project. Because the deepest reason people overthink simple things is that they are harsh with themselves. They think one mistake means they are careless, one awkward moment means they are weird, one imperfect choice means they failed. But psychology shows something gentler. Your brain is shaped by repetition, not by one moment. Your identity is built by patterns, not by a single decision. So if you are an overthinker, do not hate your mind. Train it. Your mind is powerful. It just needs a safer story. A story where small choices are not a verdict. A story where uncertainty is not a threat. A story where you can be seen, imperfect, and still loved. So the next time you catch yourself stuck on a simple thing, pause. Say, this is not about the choice. This is about my need to feel safe. Take a breath. Choose. Move. Because life does not open up when you find the perfect answer. Life opens up when you trust yourself to handle any outcome. If this felt like someone finally put your thoughts into words, stay here. Subscribe for more psychology decoding, and share this with the one friend who overthinks their overthinking. And remember, simple choices are not small. They are practice. And every time you choose without fear, you are rewiring your brain.